right-handed from three. Hull comes soaring in again. This uncanny knack. That dashes in.
Is on the upper left wing. Just got inside, circles around, pure effort.
Pure effort. Game 3 wasn't basketball. It was daylight robbery. The Fever were leading, battling, refusing to back down. Then came the whistles. One after another, stripping the game right out of their hands. Suddenly, the Aces are living at the foul line. Aya Wilson is throwing elbows. And Aaliyah Boston can't even get a fair chance to compete. Everyone saw it. The fans inside Gainbridge, the people. It overshadowed Lexie Hull's gritty, career-defining performance. The question now, can the Fever bounce back? If you believe they can, drop it in the comments.
A'ja Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexie Hull for A'ja Wilson's illegal screen. Then A'ja Wilson and Nalissa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call when nobody touches anybody.
Game 3 was ugly, but let's not act like it was the first time Indiana had to fight two teams at once. From the very start of the series, the officiating has leaned on Las Vegas like a crutch, tilting the balance of competition. Game 1 made it clear. Vegas clawed back at the free throw line while Indiana's physical, disciplined defense was whistled down again and again. The Fever stood tall, bodied up, made stops, yet somehow, the Aces always ended up at the stripe. That set the tone. By Game 2, the pattern was undeniable. The whistles grew louder, the imbalance more glaring, and every 50-50 call seemed to lean one way.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor, and that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively, we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
The whistles piled up quarter after quarter. What started as small frustrations snowballed into a steady drag on Indiana's rhythm, bad enough that Stephanie White had to call it out post-game. By Game 3, it wasn't just a pattern anymore. It was a wall the Fever couldn't climb. The nightmare sequence came in the third. Aaliyah Boston tried to challenge a foul called on Jackie Young. White motioned for the review, the bench was ready, but the officials wouldn't even acknowledge it. Seconds later, Chelsea Gray drilled a three. In an instant, the Gainbridge crowd went from roaring to gasping as Indy's lead disappeared. It wasn't just the points. It was the message. The Fever had played well enough to earn separation, only to see their work erased by whistles and another Vegas bucket. Fans erupted, waving arms, screaming at refs who just shrugged. Clips of the exchange went viral almost instantly, with breakdowns showing how the ignored challenge swung the game on a single possession. Those same replays exposed flops, cheap shoves, and constant elbows from the Aces that barely drew a glance.
2-minute recap from last night. So A'ja Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Nalissa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then A'ja Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Nalissa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
That's what makes it feel less like oversight and more like open favor. Aya Wilson could lower her shoulder into Boston. Defenders were thrown to the floor without a whistle, and wild flailing arms counted as defense, so long as you wore a Vegas jersey. Meanwhile, every bit of contact from Indiana was treated like a crime scene. This wasn't momentum built on talent. It was momentum handed over by referees wielding whistles like weapons. But where that might have broken a lesser team, one Fever player refused to let Game 3 be remembered only for bad calls. Lexie Hull made sure of it. How often do you see a player who wasn't even supposed to be on the floor nearly flip the direction of an entire playoff series? That's why Hull was the true headline of Game 3. She wasn't supposed to be out there at all. After aggravating her back in Game 1, she came into Friday as questionable. Practice reps were scarce. Her movements looked stiff in warm-ups, and fans weren't expecting much. Instead of logging a few spot minutes to buy her teammates rest, Hull turned her night into something Fever fans will remember long after this series ends.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Hull will fire. And hit from three. Last two positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull. And a jump ball between Smith and Hull.
She played through visible pain and still produced a box score that looked like it belonged to a fully healthy star. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. She did it efficiently, too, hitting 6 of 10 from the field, including 3 triples that felt like lifelines every time Vegas tried to edge back in front. Those threes carried even more weight because they tied her with a franchise playoff record for made threes across 2 games, 8 total, an achievement few would have predicted from a player who came in off the injury report. And with those 16 points, she set a new playoff career high in Game 3 against the Aces. But what stood out wasn't just the numbers. It was the way she earned them. Loose balls, scrambled rebounds, throwing her body into plays most injured players would have avoided. Hull wasn't just filling a stat sheet, she was setting a tone, showing her teammates and Fever fans what grit looks like under the brightest lights.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull, catch, fire, and hit. Wreck Paul. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexie Hull.
The Hull able to save the play.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first field goal of the quarter.
There were moments when the camera caught her face twisted in pain. And still, she boxed out frontline players, chased rebounds that should have belonged to taller aces, dove onto the hardwood, and wrestled for boards, only to gather herself and bury shots on the other end. Every time the officiating tried to drain Indiana's momentum, Hull gave the Fever a jolt of life. Even as Vegas piled up free throws, she kept possessions alive simply by refusing to quit. That's why the crowd connected with her so deeply. Fever fans knew exactly what they were seeing, a player putting her body on the line because her team needed her.
On this first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson lays it in.
The Fever didn't lose Game 3. They had it stolen. Indiana built a lead, played strong defense, and then watched the refs turn the game into free points for Las Vegas. That's not basketball. That's interference. Game 4 is now bigger than survival. It's about exposing how hollow those Aces' wins look when the whistles don't bail them out. If Hull fights through pain again, if Mitchell heats up, if Boston keeps punishing Wilson inside, Gainbridge can erupt into chaos. Add 17,000 fans to that mix, and this series shifts. Indiana's season isn't finished. It's just about to get louder. Do you think the Fever can bounce back? If yes, then comment, "Let's go Fever." Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.